markets are concluding to something more serious. And more serious means forcing every company, like even ours, to become a business.
These tools hitting every industry, every business, and causing probably the largest reset in history.
Is it easier to convince agents to use your chain instead of convincing people? I'm going to just deploy thousands and thousands of agents and prove the value of the chain.
The premises for which Supernova was built, in some sense, up until very recently, did not exist, like very honestly speaking.
The settlement time, especially for machine-to-machine interaction, that would become critical.
Supernova is probably the only technology currently available that is ready for that agentic payments world.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Beniamin Mincu and I'm here with Lucian, and we're the co-founders of Multiverse X. We're building the most advanced tech that scales trust, truth, and human collaboration. And this is a front seat view into the journey we're taking. The challenges, the experiences, the setbacks, the laughs along the way, and hopefully some lessons we're learning. Today, we have a very special episode because I have two guests, essentially. One is Daniel, and Daniel will be the host today. We're trying something new. And the other is Lucian, my co-founder, and you've seen him in many of our episodes. Today will be a special episode because we're trying a new setup. Daniel will be the host. So Daniel, up to you.
Thanks. A great honor to be in the first podcast. I hope today is going to be fun. And it's great to host you guys.
Awesome.
Great
to have you.
Yeah, great having you, Danny. Welcome to the show.
So let's start, guys, with 2026. I mean, besides the fact that AI has created its own religion, it seems like the markets are crashing and we're on the brink of war. So how does this sound to you?
Energy is through the roof, I would say.
I hope it's the right kind of energy, not the nuclear kind of energy.
Yeah. You never know these days. But I do believe that we're at the strangest moment, in some sense, in history, wildest moment from many angles. And at the same time, there's also some excitement in the air. So as you rightly pointed out, I think I made a post a few days back, and the fact that these things all coincide, like we're on this on the brink of this new war, maybe. AI is sort of taking over with agents everywhere, creating their religion, social networks, and so on, but faster than almost any type of technology. Markets are absolutely wild, collapsing and then pumping and then collapsing again, and it's almost that's all happening in one day. And crypto with AI are through the swings. You're not sure if everything is dying, everything is in a bust, or everything is going through the biggest boom in the world. So I do think that this makes for an interesting, at least, start for the new year. Lucian?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think the energy is crazy, or seeing energy is to the roof is an understatement. I think just macro speaking, almost feeling like we're close to another war while closing a couple of other wars and having peace. And then while actually president pumping and dumping markets over and over again, I mean, that just puts things on one very wild bucket. But nevertheless, I would say if I were to look also to how 2026 particularly comes closer to us, is I think on the one hand, I'm very happy that markets have, I think, become a lot quieter on one sense, especially crypto industry and especially meme coins and all that part. If there is something that I think I had enough personally, and I would like to try something new, is definitely that one of the buckets that meme coins had their time. Maybe they're gonna come back, but at least for now, I'm happy that the markets are concluding to something more serious. And more serious means that challenging times, especially for this industry, like forcing every company, like even ours, to become a business, like become a productive business that actually can sustain one of the most crazy narratives that we're living towards. And that brings us even closer to where we are today, which is, I think, AI and agentic payments, right? So if I would describe chaos in the entire world, everywhere around, but then if there is a hack for me at least, is finding a corner or a place to just progress and find something to win despite everything. So, but yeah, curious actually. Yeah.
Taking things one step further, what's the crazy idea or the most exciting things in 2026? Discussion around the AI, around I mean, Lucian, you mentioned about infrastructure finally being sexy again. Yes, since 2018, and we see a lot of discussions around interesting infrastructures around sharding and so forth. But I'll let you guys over and say what's the most exciting thing for 2026, leaving aside of all the bad stuff and the markets crashing and all that stuff.
Yeah, maybe I'll just jump in and break the ice. I think maybe 2 or 3 points for me, especially if I were to look at 2026. I think there's just to put them out there. The first, I think it's Supernova and Agentic Payments, and I think for Supernova just coming close, I would say this is it might sound like a cliche, but it's also fascinating. If I look back, every time it sounds like that, is that actually it seems like we are coming closer to what we are supposed to do and we're supposed to do, and we are finally doing it even better than before. And if I were to look at that, it's 7 years down the road, the entire market again converges again against or towards latency of and settlement and execution latency. That if I were to compress towards that, I think that's what I see as one point. Especially, I might be biased with all the disclaimers here, but I think also who's listening to us are listening because we're biased on that, right? So, and then the second point is agentic payments. I would say if those if I were to look at the amounts of payments that we as human do, and then thinking of the amount of actions that we as human command to those machines and delegate to those machines, and machine to machine payments is particularly in the desperate need for a settlement and execution layer for any kind of financial communication between them. This is, I think, the biggest bet, and I think the most crazy bet that we are looking at.
By the way, do you think people will actually have trust? Do you think people will get to a point where they actually trust agents with their own money?
I'm trusting minds. So as crazy as it sounds, we're gonna get that, I think, down the episode. And very good question, but I'm gonna share a few things. I think both of us we're gonna share a few things down the road, down the episode. But yes, I think that's the most crazy bet that I think 2026 will make things work. Then, Mike, to you, very curious actually on your side.
Beniamin, let's hear it.
Yeah, so I'll boil down everything to one thing that will hit everyone, not only us, everyone from all angles, which is AI. And whether you take just the agentic function that we see today that's exploding and being adopted, or these tools hitting every industry, every business, and causing probably the largest reset in history, for better or worse, I think that will be the theme that will almost suck the energy out of everything else. And it's for that economy and that space that Supernova delivers the best relief. Namely, if you have not thousands, not millions, but very soon billions of agents that people will employ for any type of work, however strange this sounds today, then the question is, what do you do to basically make the payments? What service do you use that you can trust, that has all the properties necessary, that is verifiable, that just gives you this deterministic functions? Well, it turns out that there's this thing called a blockchain. Wouldn't you believe that actually almost seems to be made for that? It almost seems that for everything else, you have some other applications. But hey, this thing called blockchain sounds very crazy until you see the need for billions of transactions, billions of identified agents that you want to verify, and you have the need for a trust layer among them. So with that, I'll just close this first question. But I think this AI wave almost that will feel like a storm from all angles, and then Supernova, this good saving boat, if you will, um, through the storm, that navigates through the storm and adds a bit of 2 cents of relief, if that makes sense.
It's really interesting because for a very long time, people have been discussing about, what's blockchain. And I mean, we've been through episodes through like years and years where we thought, blockchains are for NFTs and blockchain for that and that, different opinions and so forth. But
And they are.
And they are, and it's true. But it seems like finally, as you mentioned, Benjamin, you have billions and billions of transactions that need to happen in this manner, where features that even with multi-for-sex we developed years ago without necessarily knowing that it's gotten today. Like I'm talking about relay transactions and all that stuff. So, what I want to ask is, why is Supernova so important, and how does Supernova actually change the game, right? Because I mean, we have a bunch of different blockchains on different networks and so forth. Why does Ethereum, right? Why can't they win at the AI, agentic payments? I don't want to like bash on the Ethereum sort of community, but you know what I mean. Let's talk about why is Supernova, a truly game changer.
Lucian, I think
Lucian,
it has been prepared for you.
I want to jump in because this and just roll back to one crazy idea, one question that is will get us to Supernova even closer. And then the question would be, and this is a very, I think, very interesting one. What's the wildest, or let me say, what's the I would say, cool, crazy, and wild idea at the same time that you're thinking when you look at 2026 that you think will be something that will happen? Besides, so we talked about the bigger stuff, we talked about macro, came closer, but then I'm just wondering, maybe if you were Benny or yeah, Danny as well. I'm very curious actually for you guys. How do you see this? And what's one idea, simple idea that you think will be one of the crazy bets or things to have that will happen in 2026? And then we'll come closer to Supernova.
Yeah, so I think if we look at exactly what we said before, I think AI will dwarf everything. I don't think there will be a comparison in terms of scale, scope, and economic impact. And then blockchains, as they mold to these rails that you really need for trusting agents, delegating and mandating them to do things for you, and just working with them every day, but in a way that's verifiable and trustworthy. The industry that emerges on that front is really, in some sense, agentic commerce. And it might be, again, crazy and wild for people to talk about this. But once you see some of the biggest players in the world actually all laying the rails, so they're not left behind, but actually they're leading the revolution, the validation and the scale of this almost tsunami, I think paints a very interesting picture for the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
Curious to, but curious, yeah, curious to hear. Curious to
yeah,
hear.
I think this is very, again, I think we're not sure just because we're brothers, we're very much alike, but it's from different angles, which is very, very, very useful. But just coming closer, and I think just restating the same thing in the simpler words, I think Chinese or China has been actually leading, and we need to give them the credit that they've been pushing this kind of term for this lights out factories, which is in practice place like a procedure or a set of automated systems that work together towards a goal without a human interaction in the middle. And if I were to put like this, I'm getting goosebumps just explaining now and putting it like this. I think uh, on the one hand, I'm trying to progress, and we're all trying to progress as humans. But on the other hand, I think there are people that are trying to just find a job for not for them anymore. They're just literally building agents every day as we speak, and are putting them out to be hired and to be employed and bring money back. And this is, I mean, you could try to do everything else, but for me, this is just as realistic as it is, and as crazy and fun. And now I'll just hijack the conversation again and just bring it back to why Supernova, right? Because what does it bring, right? Now this is something that I think we have made 7 years progress down the road towards something that I think is finally positioned, or luckily positioned in the line with the one of the most growing markets and one of the most exciting markets. Because if I look at all other terms or phases in the cycles, or even for crypto, for Web3, there most of them were okay. Do I want to engage? Do I want meme coins? Do I want NFTs? Do I want, as a tech guy, to build, or do I see a sustainable future that would make economically sense for a decade, for at least a couple of years down the road? Well, does it sound like that? Yes. Well, agents, people going to, like, robots going to work, producing and creating economically value, is, in simple terms, for me, something that just makes sense a lot more. And now, why Supernova? I'll just pause and give the mic again and invite Benny. Curious, how does
By the way,
everything
by the way, in the meantime, I have a question. Is it easier to convince agents to use your chain instead of convincing people? Is that a valid argument? Where you say, okay, I'm going to just deploy thousands and thousands of agents and prove the value of the chain, instead of having to deal with people, where there's like a higher barrier of onboarding and so forth.
Yes, agents, you can just command them. The short answer is truly yes. You just bootstrap them, turn them on, and then tell them what to do. For now, they listen. Maybe in the future it will not be that easy, but for now, we want to seize this opportunity and bring them to the chain and to Supernova. And on a more serious note, I think the premises for which Supernova was built, in some sense, up until very recently, did not exist. Like, very honestly speaking, we've built something that is 1,000 times better than some of the alternatives in terms of scale, and now with speed that is instantaneous. And the question has always been, yeah, but we don't see this type of demand actually emerging. Like, you could not feel the blockchain. It has power. It's almost like you built an 8-lane highway, and you have a few cars, a bunch of cars going in and out and so on. And I just want to briefly paint this picture that agents very soon will become the asset that everyone will want more than anything else. It's almost like if you could have this automatic 24/7 person, just think about it like that, that will work for you without stopping, without wanting to eat, without asking questions. It will just do what you tell it in a way that's almost as good, or in many cases much better than you yourself do it. Would you want that? And I think the answer is mind-blowing. Like, I've not seen anyone that doesn't want to scale themselves. Like, literally, take someone that has your thoughts, that comes with ideas, that can solve your problems and so on. And then the question is, would I want just one version, or can I do 100? Can I essentially build almost a company of these agents that are Benjamins? And it's Benjamin 1 calling Benjamin 2 and Benjamin 3 and so on. And as funny as it sounds, they also get stuff done, get shit done. Well, that scale to people, imagine that we have 8 billion people. How fast will people be able to just on their smartphone, on their computers, call up these agents that they use as personal assistants first, that start getting their groceries, getting their like buying stuff, doing stuff for them in any way, like planning a vacation, buying the tickets, doing these menial things that you have to do. And then can this scale 10x of the human population, 100x, 1000x? What's the number? I think we can easily see that 100 to 1000x, not in 20 years, right? Like the next 3-5 years will, I believe, be the wildest. And so coming back to Supernova, the only question is, what layer can sustain this type of payments at scale, can process billions and billions of transactions with instant speed, in a way where you don't need it 10 years down the road, but today you see this happening with the speed that you've not seen before. And the fact that we've been working for the last years on Supernova, the fact that this is so close and it's a battle tested technology, that goes to show how much you need to survive, how early you need to be, and then to at some point also catch the right wave and almost make it feel like you're starting to see some luck coming your way, luck, quote unquote. So hope this adds a bit of color and context. But Lucian, feel free to add some your.
Yeah, so I think to just to build on top of that, maybe, and bring it even to a pragmatic approach, I think yes, there are many chains, and you would say yes, but there are so many chains out there, and there will be a few left, I would say, at the end of this butchering, just to bring it down to earth. But I think if I were to look at what we have built and what we are building, and the beauty of it is actually being custom and paying the price for so many years, being uniquely designed with zones or shards that basically can, as Beniamin mentioned, run as a highway, parallelized highway with decoupled consensus and execution. Now, I think what is not obvious and will not be, has not been obvious, not only that the settlement time will become just crazy, and especially for machine to machine interactions, that will become critical, especially in financial services. But more than that, in any kind of settlement or authenticity layer across machine to machine communication, which should not be overpriced because of the traffic that is coming from financial services, which ergo we finally have our zones that make sense, and I think finally actually come very well together. But yeah, also with the stacks, actually with the entire e-commerce stack or agentic stack coming across, we, I think, are just 7 years ahead of most of the companies that are just starting now. You could, and there's the joke with you could get nine women and put them to work on a child, but they would not make it in 1 month. Now, I'm not that sure with AI, just to correct and make a joke around it, but at least I was told so. Anyway, so pausing here, and then I think this is a bit of the angle of how I look at it.
So, guys, into this part, you'd say it's fair to say that Supernova is this amazing technology that probably the only technology currently available that is ready for that agentic payment world that we are starting to witness just now, right?
The way to look at this is building for 7 years and being early 7 years means that for 7 years you just get beatings, right? Beatings every day, and it's very rare to be early to an idea and then also survive, right? So in some sense, many times, and I've received these messages on like personal note, that for many of these ideas we've been early and maybe too early, and to the extent that you look at it like that, it can be very tough. But now we're at the point where during the last few weeks, we've announced some of the most important concrete milestones through which we connect this technology even before it's live to the most important highways for payments created by the most important giants in the world. And let me make this concrete as an example. We released UCP, Universal Commerce Protocol, by Google. Now, Google is the biggest giant you can look at in this agentic world, because they're owning the internet. They're there with search. They've built for 25 years of monopoly unlike any other. They're very early, and they put their footprint on on agentic commerce through UCP. OpenAI is another giant, and of course, OpenAI has shared and released ACP, Agentic Commerce Protocol. It's basically the same thing, but it's their own highway where they say, whatever happens here, we want to be part of it. And this is our protocol. We shared that we integrated that as well. Now we integrated also A2P, another agentic payments protocol from Google that again is live and brings a lot of value. Then we integrated just 2 other things. Sorry for hijacking the entire conversation here. We have MCPs through which you essentially just interact with all these protocols. So MCP, you can just see this interface through which you can access the different protocols that you have and make them available in a language that the agent actually speaks. And last note, X402 is the payment rail from Coinbase that again wants to be very early, wants to position itself there. And so we've released this. And today, as we register this, as we record this podcast, we'll release another cool thing that will go out. So since we're doing a bit of time teleportation here, I can say what we're releasing because it should be out by the time the podcast goes out. We're just releasing agentic registries. So a kind of version of Ethereum's 8004 identity layer that exists on Multiverse X that connects to all these protocols. And if I'm putting it in one sentence, what does this all mean? Why is it relevant?
I,
And
I was gonna ask that. You know, a lot of the folks on the internet, they see all these integrations. What does it actually mean for the average internet user? Can they just plug in and say, okay, I'm gonna launch an agent, I'm gonna use people at the end of the day, they don't really care what's happened. They don't really care whatever integration you've done with Coinbase or with OpenAI, even though it's been quite a lot of lifting and so forth. So what does it do
unless
in
they're
reality
investors?
for the average
If
internet
they're
user?
investors, they care very much. And I've seen some of the people getting excited again and so on. But I'll just mention one sentence and then I'll invite Lucian to perhaps add some notes. You can just think about this as Supernova and Multiverse X connecting its highway that is very high speed, very high scale, to this most important specialized roads that enable agentic payments, so that any agent that you have can do this registration process, can process the payment, can authorize, can mandate, and there's this different steps that you cannot do without caring. This is what Multiverse X is here to do and will do like there's no tomorrow. You'll see us place the flag on this every single day. And yeah, Lucian, feel free to add some of your thoughts.
Maybe give me an example of how do you actually use one of these agents, right? How
Sure.
Because you mentioned earlier that you're already giving your money to the agents to do payments online. So I'm very curious on that front.
Yeah. So in short, here's a simple way to explain. Until now, for example, you would want to, for example, query Bitcoin price, right? Query any kind of price or information from a source. So let's put, for example, I think everybody knows CoinMarketCap or any kind of price source data oracle, right? So until now, they were designed for humans. Humans could access the website. They would have a certain amount of monetization, usually serve ads in a visual forms to the humans. Ergo, they would be able to make a profit by keeping those services up. But in the newer form, you would want to spend as less time possible in this traditional form, and you would most likely just call or talk to your agent, hey, can you just check the price of X or weather or whatever? And what would happen in the background, basically they would go and access the service for you in a programmatic way where they would not pull the user interface anymore up. They would not consume the ads that usually the creators would have put until now. Ergo, the entire economy of the internet is more or less in a big question mark. Everything needs to be changed. Then now comes closer to, okay, how do we make what's the newer form of serving those agents or serving this information in a way that still makes sense and is economically sustainable and makes an economically sound version. Now, a version of that would be, hey, I don't want maybe to just go and make a plan for my agent that will pay $5 up front for 2 years ahead of me asking the Bitcoin price, because maybe I'm gonna sell it tomorrow, right? So who knows? Maybe I'm gonna hold it for 10 years, but I don't need to commit to that. So the newer form would be something like pay as you go, right? So in the form of the communication, the same way you would say, hey, I'm Lucian's agent, please give me this data. Do you have this data? I'm offering this amount of money for you, like a fraction of a cent for you just delivering me the live price of Bitcoin. And then pretty much there will be an auction between who's serving, who can serve. There's a discovery. There are many steps where those protocols will fall into, where how do you reach the source or the best bidder for giving you the data? Who's the most reliable one? How do you, like, all these intermediate steps are actually facilitating exactly this kind of stuff. And then in the short, with what it allows is, hey, I'm gonna give you a fraction of a cent if you give me the Bitcoin price. And then by in the communication, the same way you would just ask for anything, now I can also give you the money. I'm sending you the request, I'm also sending you the money, and then you're giving me the data in exchange without actually needing a card, without needing any kind of third human interaction in the loop. Now, what it translates to, and then I'll close this one because I know you asked me for in simple words, but I just walked you a bit to
This was
how.
the simplest that you can get.
I mean, look, in short, machines can transact and they would have a card attached, like similar how you would put credit card. But what's the alternative to their own card, and what's 100 times more efficient, faster, and safer to be used, right? Well,
I mean,
that's it.
I mean, this opens up basically a universe of possibilities that you can finally, do with agents, especially now that they have the tools to do commerce online. So with that, guys, considering that we have the Supernova, we have all these amazing integrations with, for the agents to transact online and have end-to-end payments basically. What is, and maybe you can choose each one. What is the one very cool application you'd like to see on Supernova? It has
Should
to
I
be
go
now.
first,
If one of you,
or you want Lucian?
Benjamin, if you go first, then we'll have to force Lucian to choose something else, right?
Yeah,
Please,
please.
Lucian. Please. No, please, Lucian. Then
No,
I will.
okay, sure. I think in the sense it would be an iteration. So I think there's two points. One, I think generally speaking, I would love to see the agentic commerce actually happening. And for that, there's a bunch of stuff that I want to see built, and a bunch of that we're gonna release, but I cannot talk about all of them. But I think one of the interesting part is actually the marketplace that those you could send and bid your services, right? What is the equivalent of Craigslist for the agentic world, and especially how there are some versions actually where robots or agents already hire humans, but the most crazier part is actually they all miss the settlement layer, right? So they all miss this kind of medium of payment, and I think that's yeah, that's one of the points that I'm actually looking at, and I'm very excited to see forward on actually taking place. And then more closer to that is particularly, I think there's a lot of useful information that could be packed and served towards that marketplace, right? So I would say, for example, if until now, let me make it more practical. If until now you had an insight about something that worked for you, for example, you're good at financial markets, you're good at predicting some stuff, you're good at reading anything. Now you could pack this kind of information in a simple guide for your agent to always, if someone pays him, you will do that for them. You will serve that information. So for example, you would look at some particular set of data, and then with your knowledge, with your training of on that particular segment, and interpret the data and give the result back to the user. It's like you could call me and hire me to look over stuff with you, work with you, and then just deliver that only, and pay me only at the delivery of the task, right? So that's in short this version that I'm very very much looking forward, and that would just compress a lot of everything we're doing here to something very pragmatic and very very measurable.
And if I were to yeah, I was just messaging someone while Lucian was speaking, just to ask how we can make it that whatever we do, we push out the version that I was mentioning today. So I think just generally, you'll see all the applications that we had change in terms of interface. It will not be, almost think about it like this. Step one is human to human commerce interactions and so on. This is what we had up until this point. The next step is human to agent. and that will dwarf everything we had for humans. So we're now changing all the applications, adding the agent interface, and you'll just be able to interact with them faster, simpler, and so on. And then there's a third layer, agent to agent. I think that will dwarf both the first in a way that, again, seems mind-blowing today and very hard for people to grasp. Coming down to earth, one of these versions is just a marketplace of agents being able to request tasks getting done. So I want to get something done, whatever it is. Maybe I want to research about the best investment that I can do today. Or I want an application being built today really quick because I want to show some type of version that I cannot do myself. I cannot verify it and so on. And then still I want to show it to someone. Or I just want some very specific knowledge that my normal AI on the computer will not be able to provide. Having a marketplace like that just opens up this set of possibilities where people can register their agents with concrete information that they are very good at, that they can validate. Those agents get reputation, like good reputation, and then they can sell this type of different services. So this is just one version. Of course, you can literally take any application we have today and think, how will this look if I can just interact with an agent? How will my entire buying activity look? How will my entire news feed activity look? And how do I play with that? That's just a bit of food for thought that I think we'll see on Supernova, and we'll see all around us.
So let's say that there's a bunch of guys that are probably watching this podcast, and obviously they're getting excited Supernova and about all this stuff. What would you say they should look at building today with what's available? Maybe Lucian, what would you advise them to say? Look, guys, take what we've built and build this. Okay, I understand the marketplace is coming and so forth, but for each individual person that is in the community or watching this podcast, and maybe they're thinking about something, but they're not useful to the to.
So very good question. I think there's a few steps, step by step, that I would break the ice. One of them, I would clone Robert and just put Robert a bit in the and surfing. So, but what I mean by that, actually, we have released a bunch of agent skills, which Robert is literally, just to give a bit of insight. Every morning and evening, he's pinging me and saying, "Dude, this is just crazy, even crazier every single day, every single day, every single day." And he like the amount of automation and processes and everything that actually we're doing internally with those tools, which we are constantly updating, by the way, is absurd. So in short, if you had to any idea related to blockchains or building a multiverse X, the normal process would have been, you need to find a developer, you need to have a trustworthy developer, you need to have a product designer, you need to actually have a product idea, you need to actually spend a bunch of thousands of dollars on the product to have a first iteration and believe that, on hope that it will come close to what you wanted. And now, and then eventually make sure that it also takes off, and then eventually also audit that company. And then there you go, you ended up to tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions invested into any kind of iteration of idea to ship that out. Now, coming close and back to where those skills are for and what we are using it internally is particularly actually to ship every single integration, everything that we're talking right now, besides the core technology inside the Supernova, is being built with agents internally for inside Multiverse. If we're talking from front-end design, product design, economics, we're literally using it as a machine. Now, how would I package it that? Well, once the marketplace is out, I would literally package those skills in a subset function that if you had, for example, you're a smart contract developer, take that skills from us, put them into a service, make them beatable and hireable from anyone else, and you will make sure that you're shipping a brilliant smart contract output back to the user. The better you ask the user what would be the specs, and the better you iterate on the skills that we have built, and build on top of that, the more efficient actually you're gonna have always a surplus of economically value. Same for front ends. Like front ends, I don't think it's. I think that there will be a dozen of products and very good ones, and we are also working on some very cool stuff there. Without, but particularly, I think at least for now, I would automate stuff that are still yet not easily reproducible. So in short, if I have a quality or a skill in real life that makes myself valuable, I would work as fast as possible to automate and multiplicate myself to serve as many customers with that capacity. And how do I do that? Is particularly building those agents and getting my bots hired in the new form. I hope this explains a bit how I would do it and what I am doing actually every day. I'm literally, by the way, just to say, I'm not sure if you feel the energy, but I'm literally just waiting to go back to my bot army and actually work with them. And by the way, one point, I think by the time I'm saying this, OpenClaw and mold bots are literally something people should experience with as fast as possible. Like just it's and I'll share a wild experience. Like I because it's, even though you have it, you want, it's like almost Tamagotchi. You need to feed it, you need to grow it, you need to train it, and it's a wild experience. It's also most likely you're not gonna be able to delegate and use it to its capacity, not because he's not capable of, because I don't know how to delegate work to it. And I think we're gonna get to the next point, also a budget and close to an end shortly. But the point where I wanted to go is, but while I built this one, I remember that I think a few weeks ago, A16Z released a podcast on how the best CEOs delegate to their personal assistants and what's the framework of that. And funny enough, I was to share a bit of an experience. I first I had a maximum frustration of how the agent behaved. It talked Chinese to me. It was a mess. Literally, I got depressed. I was sick, and so forth. It got me in one of the darkest times, I would say, over a weekend, where I said, look, it cannot be that everybody's succeeding and mine is just so stupid. And then fast forward, I managed to set it up. And then I was I was so happy. It was Sunday night. I closed the laptop and said, cool, this one talks to me. Now I have a fresh install. I deleted and redid the setup just to make sure that now it's clean. Everything is like in a state of mind. It's Monday. And funny enough, the first thing I said, okay, I was on the airport meeting Benny, and then I was driving. I couldn't talk. I texted a bit on autopilot and so forth. But then I said, let me try something. Well, just send him a message, an audio message, and then he replies, got it. I understood. I just fixed and installed this stuff, and now I can listen to your audio messages. No worries, you can delegate to that. And then I said, okay, cool. Now please go online, find this article, find all the material similar to that, and build me an army of agents that would practically build me and give me and teach me how to work on that. Yeah. That's I think that's one of the very interesting experiences that I've been and I very much recommend everyone build it towards that.
Fantastic. That's great. Maybe just as a recap for this section for everybody watching, something for you guys to take away, Multiverse X is indeed right now probably the best positioned blockchain layer 1 protocol that's that has all the necessary integration to solve the agentic payments. The agentic payments part definitely has, but as Lucian said, and I think Beniamin, do play with AI agents. Keep an eye out on what's happening with the latest updates that we've got coming up. And with that, guys, for 2026, what's your craziest, wild predictions? We'll go with Benjamin.
Let me make three simple but in my view mind-blowing predictions. I think we're going to see first the biggest set of layoffs across the board, across all the biggest companies in the world, big and small, in a way that at first it's going to feel like this is the apocalypse. So the layoffs and reset that we're going to see is going to feel wild. Second, I think we're going to see the biggest number in history of people that for the first time reinvent themselves, build new applications, businesses, and so on, and start making money in a way that they never believed that they'll try and they'll do and they'll succeed. So both of these points seem very polarizing. And I think third, this is where the opportunity lies. If businesses are the things that we're building with AI, with agents, and so on, the part around agentic commerce and what we're building with Supernova will probably be not only a very, very interesting experiment, but it might tap into some forces that are out there much beyond us, and with Supernova can just explode. The agents can work at scale, can process transactions at scale, and I think blockchains as an industry will probably be eaten by this wave that we're going to see. This is why the announcements have been made. This is why we've been sharing some of the things that we've been working for years. These are my, let's say, 2-3 cents.
Yeah. So look, I think if I were to look back at blockchains and the industry, back in 2017, I think one important point was actually us being aligned with the growing market. If I were to look now at the metrics, how absurd the OpenClaw adoption and the bot adoption and the agentic adoption scale looks every single day, that's I hard to look at anything else and say, well, so are you telling me that those humans will do more than those and will scale faster, while they don't want, and they are known as species that don't want to change anything if possible and do that? Well, what would you bet on? An agentic programmatic stack where you can forefront and position yourself at the forefront and make yourself pragmatic enough to be cheaper, faster, more reliable than anything else in the market, or go and try to convince humans. Well, I would, at least for me, my bias is I was good with machines, any kind of machine since kid, and I would vouch for them again. Now, at least for this particular problem, right? So this is how I look at it. Lights of factories are something very interesting. I'm still, for now, I'm just hiring other bots in the internet and working for. Mine for some whatever reason doesn't want to wake up and go to work yet. It debates and talks very much, but we're gonna get there. I'm gonna send him out of home very soon to produce something. I think, by the way, just to make a good joke, there was a good experiment, which I strongly encourage also for us to see on Multiverse X. I think there was Simple Claw or something like that, where there was one agent that was put on the internet with the wallet, where it has a public amount visible, how many days it can survive to pay for its own infrastructure, and he was supposed to also spend from that credits on AI to discover what jobs are available in internet, apply for them, solve those jobs, and get more money to pay for the infrastructure. And there was a deadline until he would be essentially dead if he would not go and produce and become effective. Now that is a wild sentence and a wild idea to look at, particularly to 2026. That is what would make robots, in the sense, again, with the same problem as humans almost, that they would die. Okay, so if they won't become productive, then energy would not sustain itself. For now, we don't have negative costs of energy production, and more to that in the next episode, I guess. But yeah, that's a wild take, I would say.
Do you know what? My feeling is that right now there's like this massive tsunami wave that's coming towards the people, right? And everybody's still on the beach enjoying their cocktails without having a clue of this bloody large tsunami that's coming. So for everyone watching, I'm sure for many of you it sounds like rocket science, or it sounds like it's way too complex or so forth. This is the reality, and if you haven't yet playing with AI agents, playing with AI tools, go ahead and do it, guys. It will blow your mind. And a really cool thing is that Multiverse X, it really is positioned to be this amazing infrastructure. And I'm gonna make a prediction, a quite daring prediction for 2026. I think if this AI thing, payments, it's actually gonna happen, we'll see a lot of layer 2 and layer 1s literally, break down this year. So I think that
In
the
a bad
final
way,
test
in not a
for
good way, not a good
infrastructure,
way, right? Just to
not in a good way,
translate.
right?
So being jammed by transaction and being stuck and incapable of processing things.
Yeah.
I want to make also
Mhm.
to jump in and just make a statement, because I heard something very nice and it struck my mind again. I think we should change the name to Multiverse X, just inviting all the molds on
I
the
think,
network.
yeah, you're definitely giving people some emotions as they probably watch this about changing the name. But very very cool thing, guys. Here, let's go forward. What would be the one cool insight? Supernova in 5 years. How will Supernova look in 5 years? And I know this sounds like one of those questions, what are you gonna do in 5 years? But 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 I think it's super important, for people to sort of
That's bad. That's very bad. If we're still stuck with Supernova in 5 years, then that's gonna be very problematic. But
no,
no,
but
very good. On the other hand,
if
very
we
good
are stuck with
question.
Supernova in 5 years, it just means it's state of the art technology, which is quite hard to get to, right?
I would
Yes,
say
please believe.
definitely funny question, especially given what we were discussing before. Um, I'd say we're at the point where you'll not be able to forecast things even 6 to 12 months. It will feel so wild, so crazy, and will change much faster than you can comprehend or make sense of the world. And at the same time, Supernova, I think, will be the last big upgrade made by humans. Supernova, I think, is the one thing where we're, although we're working with agents, although we're bringing AI into it, it's still designed by.
It will just be an army of Seuss
Yeah,
robots.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Seuss agents,
I
1,000 Seuss
And
yeah,
Andrea,
agents.
I think
Andrea.
with Adrian, I basically discuss on this almost every day or every 2 days, just to see where we are and so on. And I do think that it will feel so wild afterwards once you switch, both because you'll be able to do upgrades faster, more interesting, and so on, but also because once you have this speed and agentic economies, um, it's very hard to say where you go beyond that. Like, will money still be needed while money still exists? That's a wild question. How will people work? Like, if robots and agents can do almost everything we do, how will people work? Like, what will be the value of work? If you want to go crazy in 5 years, right? Um,
We'll all be politicians,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
it makes
yeah,
sense, right?
Yeah, I was wanted to say, how
yeah,
does the governmental work or
yeah.
state work look like? It's like that.
That's a so 5 years, I think, will be so wild that some things that you never thought would happen this decade will probably happens in 5 years. Lucian, feel free if you want to add something in 5 years.
Uh, yeah, I think very, 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 very good question indeed, and a funny one. I do believe. I think 5 years there's still gonna be some work needed. I'm not sure in which form and so forth. There was a meme that there is a poison of all people becoming researchers with the for the sake of AI and the skills, just because it's so good. Just that's some sort of a poison that people get into and forgot to actually deliver stuff. However, just that putting that aside, actually, I think uh, Supernova. I think first, it's very, very wild statement with the fact that is perhaps the last update made by major update released by humans. And on that, I think this is the one of the boldest and craziest bets that, in theory, looking forward, I think technology and blockchains and supernova in 5 years should be purely invisible. It should serve the world economy. And I think that particularly towards that, if today, and I think one other wild prediction is that any kind of communication channel, engagement channel, social media will feel poisoned and almost broken in a couple of weeks, months, because of the power of those agents taking over and connecting and delegating work. Now, if I were to look what blockchains enable, compared to, so assume that emails like that robots or machines could just email you a dozen of emails every second, what, and you get everything you've been using until now becomes DDoS, because it's zero cost, right? Almost close to zero cost. Blockchains they do solve a very early problem, which is the monetization, right? At least the monetization of the transport and settlement. So this is, I think, one of the crazy paths where, yeah, prediction of 2026. And I would say with that, let's fucking go and do it.
Unless
This is my
unless we
prediction.
have unless we have a bunch of black swan events again happening.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't happen. But no, this again, a really, really crazy world, and it seems like, things are almost like moving way too fast for people to have the time to process everything that's happening. But super exciting stuff, guys. We're about to wrap this up, and just before we do that, how do you guys stay alive these days? What's your recharge? What's your recharge mode these days?
Yeah, I think the question was, how do we recharge, and just repeating it in case Benny's connection is
Agents
still
are
on.
attacking. Agents are
Yeah,
attacking.
I have a very short time frame left. By the way, I'm very packed, and then I will need to jump out in a couple of minutes. So in short, I'm mostly doing sport, heavy lifting or weightlifting, and some reading, traveling, and just doing something that I think feels that we're winning again. It's very important note. I think maybe one superpower that I discovered is actually isolation, and particularly separation of problems, and focus. Focus and not allowed to care about everything. You cannot, when things work, yeah, you can distribute attention and so forth. When things don't work, basically you need to refocus, cut, simplify to the point that you can have a mental weight and power to overcome that, right? So this is as simple as possible. Just go do it, lift some weights, and sleep, sport, and get as many agents as possible.
Very cool. Benjamin, I know you've been traveling for the past, I mean, you've been traveling for the past year or so.
The
But
past life, the past life I've been
the,
traveling.
the past life, but yeah, how do you stay alive these days?
It's very tough. Look, both internally, like externally with the world, falling apart or collapsing as it were, and then this new world emerging, and just us traveling, changing, going through this process. Two things help me, I think, the most. One, um, pardon me?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah,
One
yeah.
of the
Two
things is
things. Yes,
having me.
indeed, indeed. Two things help me the most. I would say almost at every point in life. One has been books. I think books have brought me years ahead, um, around, like in the most interesting conversations and so on, and have taught me so much that it's wild for me that books exist, that you can just tap the brain of someone else with everything they've learned, they've shared, and so on. And if you can filter and find the books that are really good, I think there's an extraordinary alpha. And I almost make it a habit of not reading anything that people usually share and just searching for the best books on a subject. It almost gives me a thrill and experience, when I think that I'm going to find this great book and discover these insights and so on, even before I find the book, right? I'm almost visualizing that, and I get excited.
Manifesting,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
manifesting the
Manifesting.
wisdom
Indeed,
before.
indeed. And then the second part is, in whatever way I can, pushing some challenges for the body, because the mind, I get the barbells, like the bodybuilding for the mind is books for me. But then pushing the body to also do something, whether it's running usually or something else, whatever. It needs to do something, because otherwise you'll explode. These are these, let's say, very simple things that I find work very well for me.
One book. Let break the ice. One title. Don't one sentence. One title.
Um, I find that one book that I was looking at was The Seven Caesars. So I find that with all the crazy things that are happening today, I almost want to look a bit at what Rome did and how it felt, what lives those people had, what challenges they had. And I find that Polybius histories and the life of the seven Caesars were two that I was checking and starting to dig a bit closer into. How about yourself, Lucian?
You're gonna laugh. This is I just I'm not sure why everything seems like a meme to me, but I figured out that or I picked up a book from CZ's threads. I think a couple of weeks back. It's called Die with Zero. Very interesting one. But I'm not sure it has
Timely.
dopamine.
This is a timely book.
Yes, a timely book, but nevertheless, I can recommend it. I don't agree with everything in it, but it is very pragmatic one, very simple one, and mostly I think tend to forget how lucky and blessed we are, and what means that actually wealth in life doesn't mean actually you giving a lot of wealth to your kids, but actually giving them the time, the experience with you that is actually more unlimited, more unvaluable than actually giving them any wealth,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you, Lucian.
So yeah,
I fully,
no,
I cannot
Thank you
disagree
very
with
much.
you. Thank you.
yes. No, but this is just a good example, and I
My
strongly
humble
recommend.
thanks.
Cool, guys. That being said, I need to jump out. Was really good discussion. I think happy 2026 agents. I'm gonna send my agent for the next podcast with you, Benjamin.
Yeah, one line. I think, guys, play with AI. Take a look at Multiverse X, what we've released, and play with AI. Like that. That's it. Nothing else. Take a look at Multiverse X and play with AI as much as you can. The rest will follow.
Maybe one line to close, and do remember, Multiverse X and Supernova really are right now best positions for the revolution that AI is bringing. Think
Yes.
about that.
And by
Try it
Multiverse X,
out.
you mean multiverse, right?
Multi. Yeah. Well, yeah. Let's not play with people's emotions. But thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, evening, or where you are, depending on the time zone.
Have a good one, guys. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye bye.